Hello and welcome to Protospeed Tutorials. I hope you're doing well. This is tutorial number 8 of our training series, and this tutorial has been long due because as the trend in 3D printing and jewelry manufacturing in general is changing, very high production manufacturers, especially the one dealing with bangles, are now preferring to print the casting trees of the bangles directly, the whole set, because as the manufacturers get orders or demands, they don't want to go in the whole process of printing each bangle individually and then spruing them and then casting them. So, as most of them have the repeated orders, they prefer to make the casting tree and they are always ready to print and cast it directly. Well, here we do the same as we do with other casting trees. We are going to use the supports as sprues, and in the end, we are going to give this design for free for educational purposes, so you can analyze the supports and print it yourself. Also, here we will do one thing a little different. In previous tutorials, we used to, for the supports, we used to draw the curves and design each support. But here we can use the bell support function as it is quite easier and time saving in this particular scenario. So let's begin. First, we are going to center our bangle. It's already in center. Then we are going to copy it and place it on top. So the distance between the bangle you can keep around 3 mm to 5 mm, keeping in mind that you will have to clean it and remove it later. So your tools can easily get into. But be sure that the gauge of the support is as according to the separation height. So now we have gone to the bell support function. As we see, there are a lot of surface and not much wires. Be sure that the gauge of the support is enough to at least cover the 2/3 of the surface. So here we have put around 0.4 mm support in radius. So while using the bell support, we will try to keep it as straight as possible. Because right now we are using a 2-point function, so it's not possible to make it completely straight, and as the design is also wavy. So you see, as easily we have to cover the all the critical parts of the bangle, because this tree is going to be around 200 mm in height, and the details of the bangles, because it since its surface should be as fine as possible. So what will happen if there are not appropriate supports, the appropriate gauge or the number or the critical areas are not covered, there's going to be vibrations, and there's going to be a lot of lines. So some people rely on very less supports, but for the casting trees, but that's not simply practical. The manufacturers usually work on the set of the bangles for the casting tree only once, because after all the trial and testing on the one bangle, they can cater multiple orders at different point of time. So it's better to do the work in the first attempt. Here we are saving a lot of time for the casting department, and it's better that Uh, the CAD CAM department or the designer and 3D printing department has also some knowledge and insights from the casting department, and they could guide you about which critical areas to cover in terms of casting. Well, every design is different, so making the casting tree for them could be a little different, but basics remain the same. The basics of the 3D printing in general remains the same. So with every casting tree, maybe the area of support will change, but the fundamentals you have to follow. So we covered only uh, one area of the bangles. It's the pattern is quite similar. So what we are going to do, we are going to select these supports and we are going to array polar them along the same sections, same type of sections of the bangle. So since we have center, so pressing F4 and selecting the center would be a lot easier. This is why we center our pieces, because when we press F4 to take the center point as a reference, it should be accurate. Now the array polar has now we have to be sure of the area. Yes, now it fits perfectly. Be double sure about this in the beginning, because from there on you have to basically copy this on different levels. Now we are sure about our supports on the first part. Now we can easily copy it till we reach our last panel. Let's group it so it's easier to copy. Let's make our candle or trunk first. Uh, you will make the candle, of course, according to your flask. And from the candle, we are going to provide sprues for the bangle. Sprues here will also function as supports. And another very important function of the sprues in terms of 3D printing is that for the circular designs like bangle, they hold them in the perfect shape. So here we are designing the sprues from the curves. You can provide the sprues from Belsupports as well, but drawing the curves gives you more control. So here the design is penetrating, so we will adjust it. Coming out a little bit. So we are done with this sprue. We can simply array polar it from the same areas of the bangle. Let's double check. So basically now we have to give some support from the inside of the bangle as well because there seem to be little overhangs. So we will use the bell support, same zero point 0.4 radius. Because that part of the bangle is somewhat hanging, so it needs a strong support. So this is basically a surface and a solid bangle, surface based and a solid bangle. So we won't need much of the we won't need much of the props, or you can say 2-point supports. But in case of lighter designs, we might have to put more because lighter designs are very weak, and if there is like a overhanging like design, so there would be more props, or you can say 2-point supports. I believe these would be enough. Now, as we are done with the supports, the screws, and the props, now we can copy them. Well, I colored them because it would be a lot easier to distinguish and select. See, I don't explain a lot of things because, as per my understanding, the designers uh, who are trying to learn these supports would be a lot experienced, because if they are not, it will be quite difficult for the new learners to print the casting trees. Basic knowledge of metrics and gem vision is paramount. So a lot of things I'm not explaining. I'm presuming that you already know, like giving colors to the different parts. So we are doing the array polar since we have figured out our main part. Oh, there were 16 bangles. We want 15. No, we need 15. So let's do the array linear command again, and we are going to give the number 14 since we have already worked on the first bangle before. So how many are these now? Okay, we are done here, but the candle or the trunk is peaking, so we simply use the 2D and make sure everything's okay. Here we are almost done with our Bangle casting tree, but these peaking screws from the inside are a problem. They will create a problem. They will cause islands. So we simply trimmed it. I hope I don't have to explain how to do the trimming. Let's be sure about the size again. Nothing, no support should be unnecessary long. Not the candle, not anything, because anything we do extra will cost us its reason. But let me tell you, a jewelry manufacturer printing casting trees don't care about the resin as much as they care about their time, which is sometimes more uh, worthy, or you can say important. We are going to draw a little base here. Uh, we are drawing the base because we don't want to take any risk. Because printing a casting tree, even printing with the Protospeed 3 printers, which are really fast, uh, you'll have to give your 4 to 5 hours, and you don't want your print to fail. So that's why it's better to draw a little base. It doesn't have to be thicker than zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.4 mm. And not to mention that we are going to draw the base supports as well. But we are not going to draw them here. We are going to draw them on our proto slicer because they are a lot easier to remove with proto slicer. I love Belsupports, but I believe that they are sometimes very hard to remove. Yeah, now you must be wondering what we are doing. Basically, with such a large hanging spruce, we again don't want to take any risk. So we are going to interlink them, and because we absolutely want our spruce to print perfectly. And they will support the casting as well. So no losses here. Again, let's interlink them here on the one sprue. Then we are going to simply apply the arrow puller. Yeah, we are done. Now the arrow puller time. How many sprues we have? F4 for the center. This will serve as our supports, the base supports. We are going to simply trim them. A little more supports with the base is good, but oh no, it's not good. This is necessary. Sorry for my choice of words, but it's absolutely necessary for the base to have very good support because on this base, on this bangle, your whole building of bangles is going to print. Be sure that the supports and base is absolutely level. We don't want to miss the beginning layers during our 3D printing. In the same old method, we are going to draw a solid rectangle and then we are going to trim it and we are done. You can run the clipping pane or the multi-section or the preview to be sure that your base and supports are starting to print at the same time, at the same layer. We are making sure that our candle is sitting right on the base because it can cost us. Well, you might be thinking we are done, but we are not. As I said before, we are going to put some extra supports. And what I'm doing here right now is removing any impeding curves, because if we leave the curve, it's going to create a lot of problems during slicing. Now let's move on with the proto slicer. We are going to import the STL file, and let's start drawing the supports on the base. So you can see on the uh, bottom right corner the dimension of the supports that we have provided. Or we can customize later. Let's concentrate on putting the support on all the critical areas, especially the islands. You can use any other software if you like Chitubox or Lychee. Here is an island. I hope you are not bored. I'm taking my time because one wrong placement can cost me. Basically, in terms of areas, we are covering the same areas that we covered uh, in the beginning, in between the bangles. But these supports are going to bear the weight of the whole casting tree. So it needs special attention. We are almost done. we have covered all the critical areas. Now we have make sure that it's straight and vertical. And now we can select and customize the gauges of our support because these are not enough, certainly. 0.65 at the bottom. Why? Because they can serve as a base for us. So we are going to make the bottom a little bigger. For the top, 0.5 looks good. Now we are done. So our Bangle casting tree is ready to be printed. And as always, you can download the design from the description of the video and try to print it yourself. And always, it was a pleasure. And thank you for listening and happy printing.